Mr. Conor O'Keeffe.
Hey,
buddy.
hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy. We're going to have a base-off competition now in our voices. How low can you go? Welcome back to the Prymal podcast.
Thanks very much, boy.
October 2020
Yes.
was the first and last time you ever came on the Prymal podcast.
Yes.
And we are now December 2023.
Yep. Over 3 years.
Over 3 years developing this relationship.
Yes.
And this is just another step in the road, but it's a significant step for Prymal, for us, for our relationship, for these gentlemen standing here behind the cameras as well.
Yeah, like I'm going to start off with a banger. Probably one of the best connections I've made in my entire life.
The lads?
Obviously the lads, not you. No, but yeah, walking into Prymal and having that once-off meeting where I go, you know what, I'll take a chance and have a sit-down chat with this guy, Dan, who has this podcast. Like, sure. And since then I'm like, Dan, you've become one of my like inner circle, like, you know, so it's class.
Likewise.
Delighted to be here, boy.
Thank you so much. Do you remember that first day, that first meeting?
I do. It was down in the thin room, I call it. The thin room, which was very, very long and narrow. And you were sitting kind of at the end of it. It was like Scarface vibes. Do you know when he's after getting the world is yours house?
That was what I was going for.
And he's like, I'm seeing, and he's just mounds of cocaine everywhere.
Yeah.
And you even had the mounds of cocaine. You were like, I was looking at him, I was like, are they mounds of cocaine? You were so paranoid. Remember that? You thought that someone was going to come in and shoot you.
Yeah,
Anyway,
shotguns, yeah.
So I remember that, and I remember it very well. And I remember I was like, this guy is just a really lovely dude. And then I hooked you up with Dan as well, Dan O'Faz.
Dan O'Faz, who I only spoke to the other day. Yeah. Absolutely.
So I was like, straight away, I was thinking like, who else would I get for this guy to chat to? And I had only just met Dan and come into it, and I'm like, I like this guy's energy. So like, that's why I put him on to you, you know? Yeah,
unreal. Yeah, if I think about those last 3 years, so much has happened in my life, and you've been an integral part of a lot of those things as well. Obviously, we do a lot of work together on content and stuff like that. We have a lot of conversations together. We've both grown our families, not together, but at the same time, we've grown our families, which we're going to speak about today. And it's been a pleasure. And this is, as I said, this is why I say it's only another step in the journey, because man, we were speaking, we might touch on it, but we will. We've big plans.
Yeah, huge plans.
It's the biggest plans. Yeah, clickbait. So, two-part conversation today. We're going to touch on two big kind of elements. First of all, I would love to know, you have become a father quite recently. Well, what age is coming now?
14 months.
Yeah, which is recent.
That's recent.
Yeah, it's quite recent in the grand scheme of things. When I was thinking about you in the early days and the things that you do and the dedication that you have to your craft and the take this the right way, the somewhat selfish nature you have to have when you're pursuing these extreme events that you do, that must have taken a dramatic turn when, first of all, obviously Mel comes into your life, but then another person who is completely dependent on you as their father and their leader comes into your life. Can you talk to me about what that has changed, how your life has changed in that particular way since Kuhn has born? How has it changed your mindset and how you think, and how you still manage to do these incredible feats of physical and mental performance while having a son, another person in the world?
Even before he arrived, there was like mental shifts that had to take place. Because I had thought maybe I'll become a dad. I'd never given much thought to whether I would become a dad or not. You know what I mean? It was like, it'll probably happen at some point in time. It's just like, you know, you think about things, they're like, oh yeah, I'd love to go see the Great Wall of China. It'll probably happen at some point. We'll book it and we'll go do it. It was like that for me. So I never had this kind of thing of, I want to be a dad so badly and this is all I want and blah, blah, blah. But then when we found out Kuhn was coming, it was the biggest surprise in the entire world. And like, it was literally like it was, and to use the cliche, it was a bombshell. Like it kind of was like, holy shit. It changed the whole atmosphere of the room when Mel said, I'm pregnant. And immediately I was like in this state of kind of love, right? Love of kind of like, oh my God, this is amazing. I got the excited feeling you get like when someone says, I have a pizza in the oven, you know? It's like, here, you walk in the door, you're starving, so I have a pizza in the oven. Boom. It's like that lovely warm feeling.
Yeah.
That's what I got. Whereas Mel was very much confused. She was quite afraid. She was, she just didn't have she wasn't on my wavelength. So it was loads of challenges in the first couple of weeks when we first found out about Kuhn. That really was the kind of setting the stone of like, solidifying mine and Mel's relationship that would allow me to, in the future, when Kuan was born, to continue doing the stuff that I want to do. So we kind of entered into this emotional contract with each other almost, that like, right, we're going to do this. We're going to bring this life into the world. We're going to be together. We're going to make this happen. And I made a promise to Mel, because Mel had so many trips that she wanted to go on and that seemed incredibly important to her at the time, and were incredibly important to her at the time, and incredibly important to me that she was doing them, you know. She was going over to Patagonia and Kilimanjaro, all over the world, 2 different continents, for these beautiful, amazing trips with her Gals Gone Wild community. And she wasn't able to do that because she had fell pregnant with Kuan. And so my promise to her was that when Kuan is born, I'll do whatever I can and whatever it takes to make sure that she can achieve the things that she wants to achieve in her life, you know, while also knowing that I had to feed who I am. I can't live a life where I'm not setting myself to do something that challenges me in the physical and mental realm. It just doesn't sit well with me. I can do it. I can do periods of time. Like now, I've been in the period of time since the Kerry Away Ultra of kind of like, I'm just going to enjoy my training. I'm going to get out. I'm going to run. I'm going to work out. I'm going to, start putting a bit of structure on things. But there's no major, madness directing me towards doing things every day. But I couldn't stay in that state for very long. I would start to feel stale. So when Kuan arrived, it's a weird thing to explain, but when he arrived, it was like everything. It was when we found out that the world goes around the sun, and the sun doesn't go around the world. Everything changed, but absolutely nothing changed, right? It only changed in my mind, I think. And I thought about this actually only while I was on a run yesterday. I was like, what do I love about being a dad? And I love the parts that are not highlight reel stuff, right? I don't love, I do. I love them. I love the times when he's giggling and smiling, or the first time he walked, or the first time he said a word, or when he looks at me and he gives me this beautiful look and he's like, love those things. The things that I actually like the most are the times when I show compassion or care for him. Like when I change his bum, and like when I put nappy rash cream on him, or when I am there when he's sick, or when I give him a cuddle when he's distraught. Those are the times that I actually really love being a dad, because they make me feed into that part of masculinity that I really love, and that is like this caring protector that I get to have as a dad. And I love those things about it. And I think I know that if I want to continue being the best dad that I can be and bring about that version of myself, I have to try and find balance with looking after Conor's goals and his aspirations. So that's what I'm trying to figure out. It's a figuring out process, but I did a pretty good job of it this year. I set myself a fairly lofty goal of trying to run a sub 3 hour marathon. I never even gotten close to that before. 3:16 was my 3 hours and 16 minutes was my fastest marathon before that. So 16 minutes off of a marathon is, pretty fucking hard to do, right? And so I trained really hard and diligently for that, while integrating this new, hat that I was wearing of being a dad.
Yeah.
And I just found that process to be very hard, but also very rewarding. And even when I failed, because I missed the mark by 52 seconds. So 52 seconds was what the kind of margin was between me hitting this goal and succeeding and failing, right? And I failed. I have no attachment to the word failure, as you well know. It's just part of life. But man, when I crossed the line and my young fella was there, it just kind of goes, it kind of sometimes makes you feel silly that you want to be so self-indulgent and feel shit. And it's self-indulgent about, I didn't get the fucking sub 3 hour marathon by 52 seconds. Once I saw him by, I was like, I'm fucking delighted. I went out, I ran hard, I trained really hard for the last 6 months, and I was still there for my son every single day. And I crossed the line, I gave it fucking everything, and that's what I loved. And I loved just that the rest of the day was like, We're just going to have fun and have a family day, you know? And
Yeah.
that to me was like, it really kind of showed that, yes, I still have this drive within me and it gets me out and it gets me to train. But at the same time, I'm like, there's bigger things in my life as well, you know?
It's so interesting you say that, right? Because we recently, I've played Gaelic football, big part of my life and my identity for 28 years. And we recently played in a senior county final. The first time in the history of my club, the first senior county final I've ever played in, the biggest game I've ever played in my entire life. And we lost the game by a point, 52 seconds. We lost the game by a point. You'd rather miss it by 5 minutes or lose by 10 goals. And the game was finished. And I had probably a 30-second period of self-indulgent, this is shit. Then I saw my kids and I saw Jill. And they were walking across the pitch to me. And I say this with as much genuine emotion as you just said that to me there. It all went away. All went away. I was there with my kids and I was like, I'm struggling to feel bad right now. And I'm looking around all the other lads. I'm like, should I be crying and like fucking kicking stuff in the corner and like just expressing that emotion to show how much I care? All I wanted to do was pick up my kids and walk around. And I went around to all the lads. I was like telling them well done. But all I really wanted to do was be there with my kids. And it made me feel so good. And the thoughts going through my head were, my 3 children have gotten me, see me captain a senior football team in Prymal Park. Whoa.
Yeah.
And I should have been like, fuck, we lost by bar. I am 35 years of age and I captained the senior football team in Prymal Park when all of my friends finished 9 years ago. Wow, how grateful. I've played an entire season injury-free to get to, wow, so grateful. I'm surrounded by my friends and family. We get to do this on this amazing day. These were the thoughts going through my head. That's not typical. And it was only happened because my family were there. And that night I was in, we were in the club commiserating, and Paul Flynn, the guy who's won everything in the world, inter-county all-star Paul Flynn was there, and he came up to me. He was like, how are you feeling? And I was like, you know, I actually felt, I'm feeling bad now because I'm alone, but I actually felt really good after the game. And he's like, your kids, he has kids too.
Yeah.
He's like, I saw the kids and it was like, didn't really care about the game. Like, that was just amazing to be there. So I really fully appreciate what you said. There's something else really powerful that you said there, which I actually learned from you a long time ago. This idea of setting a contract, not just with yourself, but you mentioned setting it with Mel when you're going to become a parent. I think this is one of the most important things that we can talk about when it comes to relationship and co-parenting a child, whether it's in a relationship, out of a, whatever it is, co-parenting a child, is that you and the other parent sit down and actually make an agreement. Because when this shit comes, if you don't have an agreement made, it will fall apart. The smallest things can cripple that whole process. And your responsibility is to that child, is to provide the base for that child. By actually making a conscious effort to have a contract with each other. Look, this is going to be hard. There is going to be shit things about this. We are not going to want to get on. You are going to hate me and I'm going to hate you at certain points in this process. But let's make an agreement that will not get in the way of our genuine love for each other, because I love you and you love me, and our love for this little person here. You said that a long time ago to me about something else, and you re-said it again when you were talking about having a child. That's so important, man. It's
100%.
so important. And I think it could really help a lot of people listening to think about, is that something I've done in all these different relationships in my life? And if not, it's probably something worth doing. It's obviously had a significant impact on your relationship and your relationship with Coon.
100%. By, like, I suppose when my wife needs me, or she needs to be taken care of, or my child is sick, or is, you know, sometimes kids, like, whether they're teething, or sometimes they just wake up and they're like, I just don't want to be here, and are just causing
I
wreck.
woke up and chose violence.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, I want problems.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, right? So what I feel like the easiest way for me to explain it is, when the worst situation arises, my best self has to show up. So the best version that I can be, the best way that I can approach a situation has to happen. And that's just basically, you know, for me, is bring calm to the situation. And that's just, let's say, talking about it situationally, right? But if we're talking about, let's say, how we plot out, like, this is, we're at the end of the year here now, so we're talking 2024. I'm talking 2024 with my wife, and we had a discussion with each other, and I understand that Mel is a more of an emotional person than I am. So when let's say she would talk, I will sit there you know, or well, we were walking in the forest at the time, right? We had our dog and our boy out. We were like, you know what, we'll do our plan for 2024 as we walk, right, Grant? We'll start the process of it anyway. And I was like, I would love for you to tell me what your 2024, you know, what you want it to look like. What would you want to happen? What do you require of me? What do you require of you? What do you see happening? And I let Mel go through everything that she had wanted and whatever. And then I was like, okay, that's it. That's it. Can I, you know, respond and kind of say, yeah, this is what we need to do if this needs to happen, blah, blah, blah. But I found that it was like very hard for me to say the half that I do, because I understand that Mel is a person where when I say something that may be kind of like this is what we could do, Mel thinks this is an ironclad agreement, right? So Mel thinks, no, that can't happen. I'm like, this is only possibility here now. No, not even in a million years. I'm okay, right? We're just spitballing here now, right? So I feel like for me to that's just the breakdown of an interaction. But what it is just understanding. Trying to gain understanding of my wife and of my family and what they need of me. And so that's a huge consideration for me now moving forward in terms of how do I, as my, let's say my business is growing and my goals are getting actually just more outlandish, how do I maintain the person that I want to be and maintain the person that's able to show up as his best self when the situation arises.
Okay.
So it's been difficult, but I actually think that the times that are most difficult for me are the most rewarding and the most wonderful too, because I'm like, I can take this stuff, you know. I think the mentality from Ultra and the mentality that I've got, like getting through Hell Week and that kind of stuff, I'm like, I can do this. I can take screaming children, and, you know, I can take, you know, staying up late or getting up early or doing any of this stuff. I'm like, it's not gonna, you know, I'm not gonna complain about it. I know that I'll be able to, and this is the thing of like, I know that whatever happens here, it's like 20% of my capacity.
Yeah.
And that's not me trying to be cocky about it. It's like I've been through a lot of different hardships, and I suppose also different traumas that were far more difficult than the stuff that I chose to do.
Yeah.
Like Hell Week and ultra running and all this kind of stuff. Like, we've all been through our own kind of sets of traumas that are like, all right, I got through that period of my life and I survived it, and I'm here to kind of get better and try and thrive. When this kind of stuff happens, it's like, I just want to show up and be that guy. Be the guy I've always talked about.
Yeah. There's so many cliches rolling around in my head as you're speaking, because there's a lot of quotes at the moment that touch on this specific point. There's one from Alex Hormozy, which is quite prevalent at the moment, saying confidence is not about screaming self-affirmations in the mirror. It's about building an undeniable stack of proof that you are who you say you are. That's number one. It's the idea that you can choose your suffering, or else it will choose you. And by choosing your suffering with the ultras and the mindset stuff in the Hell Week, you've built a set of skills and tools that you can apply outside of that realm, which is it's a cliche to talk about, but it's so powerful and so true, and you're demonstrating that there. It's the idea of layers of paint. Is that you're every time you choose to do something like this, you're building another layer of paint, and you're looking back and you've got this mountain now that you can call upon because you've done it and you've got the proof there for yourself. And I feel like unless we have a system for actively outside the realm of the real world challenges that are inevitable, unless we have a process for inoculating ourselves and building this sense of resilience, that's a particularly difficult thing to do.
I believe my life is really easy though, right? Because I have freedom, I have hope, I have opportunity, I have love. I have all of these things in my life that, like, when I think about the momentary things that are you know, day-to-day challenges for me, I do think that I still have a pretty fucking a good hand. I was dealt a good fucking hand. And I feel like I've gotten a good, I feel like there's a lot of people out there going through a lot worse than I am. And not just because that I'm getting through it, not just because other people are suffering more should I feel grateful about my life, but I just think that maybe it's because I've probably put myself in a position where these things have come into my life, you know. But I do honestly feel like I get up every day and I'm like, you know, my life is really good, you know.
Why do you believe that most of us, because most of us are in a similar position, like, especially people listening to this podcast who live in this country? I know there's exceptions, but the vast majority of us have food and shelter, and people who love us are people we love, and we can, in general, decide what we do with our days. Why do we struggle to see that? What do you think has given you this insight and this perspective and this reframing on it?
I think there's sometimes an excess of want, and that's not want of like bigger cars and bigger money and bigger houses and all this kind of stuff. But sometimes we want to have more time. We want to have more freedom. We want to have an opportunity to do this and that and the other. And I feel like it's want that has us not leaning into gratitude. It has us leaning into more want, right? So I feel like when I like and whoever's listening to the podcast, I don't want to sound disingenuous, but I say it like daily, like 5 or 6 times. Like, my wife is fucking sick of it at this stage. Me going, how fucking great is this? I'd be waiting for the kettle to boil and I'll turn around to my wife and I go, how fucking great is this? And like, my son is there and he's just fucking playing with pots and pans on the fucking kitchen floor, banging around the gaff. I'm like, how great is he? You know? And I'm like, he like healthy, young man. And one of the things that I love about my fucking son is that he takes risks and he's not afraid of that. And I feel like that's one thing that I want to allow him to do from now on, is like, take risks, but also know that if shit hits the fan and it goes haywire, that I'm there. And that's throughout life, right? So whether that's like school, college, jobs, relationships, whatever, take risks, go out, do it, shoot your shot, and know that, like, yeah, I'm actually always going to be there for you as well to help you in that way, right? So there's this. So I love that aspect of my son. I love that I live in a house that I pay way too much rent for. I don't care. Yeah, I pay a lot of rent to stay in this house, and it has put me into financial difficulty in the past. But I just, you know, for me, I'm like, that's some of the price to pay, and some of the the wonderful things that my life gives me, you know. I love that I drive, a fucking old car that does everything that I needed to do, gets me fucking everywhere, and I'm not looking at other people's cars going, you know what, now 6 months now I might be able to get some fucking finance and get a car like that. I'm like, I feel like I'm very happy, you know, which is such a weird thing to just say. I'm very happy with the things that go on in my life day to day. And that's including the challenge. That's including trying to juggle a relationship with my wife, a child, a household, a pet, a dog, my own aspirations, work, all of these things, because how unreal is it that I have so many things in my life to juggle? There are many people here, you know, that maybe they don't want to have children, but what I would say is they'll never experience the joy of having children. They'll never experience the joy of being in a relationship where you're committed to the person, whether it's a good day or a bad day, whether it's a messy day or it's a fucking great day. They'll never know the joy of struggling to do something, you know, falling down, failing, not fucking having success, having setback after setback, everything giving you the feedback that you should stop doing what you're doing and still fucking plowing on and doing it. There's a fucking joy in that, and a wonderful point in that. Like, I've been banging my fucking head against the wall for fucking years, and only now I'm starting to see cracks in that wall that I can try and slip through. So I think I'm just fucking grateful, and I'm happy. Like, you know, even of the shit times in my life, lots of great stuff happens to me every day.
Yeah.
And I say it to my wife every day, like 5 or 6 times a day. I'll just tap her and I'll just go, this is great. And my buddy Rob has a great thing, right, where he kind of goes, I said to him, oh, sorry, boy, how are you? And he goes, best day ever. Every single time, every day, every single time I see him, it's the best day ever. I'm like, that is fucking true, man. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I want to live my best life.
Yeah.
It makes me believe it the more I say it as well. How are you getting on, Dan? Living my best life. I know it's a cliche, and I'm living the best life. Living my best life.
But it actually is true, because like, I feel like we forget that we are doing our best as well, right? We're just doing our best, whatever is happening. Even if we don't, let's say you're a carpenter and you need to build the stairs in someone's house, but you've no tools. But you're going to give it a shot anyway. You'll give it a fucking crack and you'll do your best job. You've no tools. That happens to so many people in life. They're just going through life, and they've the best tools that they have right now are building that stairs, right? What I believe, let's say, working on yourself and trying to seek more from yourself on the internal, and that could be getting help with that too, like psychotherapy, counseling, group therapy, all of these things, right? This is what happens. That's the version of the carpenter who decides, do you know what, I'm going to go into that fucking piece of shit van that's falling down with rubbish and all that stuff, and I'm going to start digging around in there and see what I come up with. Oh, there's a hammer. Oh, there's a couple of nails here, that'll help me. These are building the tools that'll help you to basically be able to handle situations in life,
Yeah. So, I went to see Jordan Peterson in the O2 or the Tree Arena, whatever we call it nowadays, last year. And one of the big pieces he spoke to was children. And how you are creating a healthy, safe environment and basically doing a good job for your children is if they feel safe to play, explore, and take risks. So it's lovely to hear you talk about Kuhn there. He's happy and able to take risks because he knows he's safe, because he feels mommy and daddy are protecting him. So it's something I always think about when I look at my own children. They are a reflection of how the environment I'm creating for them. If they're happy, if they're playing, if they're confident, and actually, as they grow, if they're able to come to me and share with me and confide in me, because I often worry about this going forward, like with the world we live in now and the exposure to everything that they have. How am I going to protect them from that? And it's not about protecting them from that. It's about giving them the confidence and the comfort to know that they can come to you with anything. And I actually had. There was a psychologist in the studio the other day speaking exactly to this. He's got teenage daughters. He studies this. And the biggest, not mistake, but the biggest issue parents are having nowadays is they're responding to the thing and trying to push the world away instead of just focusing on creating that loving environment within their own home where their child feels that they have a safe space to come and express themselves, to play, to explore, to take risks, and then always come back to mommy and daddy to confide and to look for help. So it's beautiful to hear that. There's always a phrase that you use as well, which is it's beautiful. You mentioned it the other day with Al on the podcast about the best thing you can do for your child is love its mother. Can you speak to that a little bit there? Because it kind of links in with this.
Yeah. But before I go on, I do want to actually say that this is all new shit to me, right? The last 4 years of me being grateful and finding tools to live a life like this is so new. I was such a catastrophizer. I was so high stressed about loads of the tiniest shit that ever happened. And it crippled me, right? To the point where I didn't want to get out of bed in the morning, right? So that I just want to say that this is not something that I just breeze through life and I've, always taken fucking things head on. I was the biggest coward you've ever seen in your life in terms of facing my own problems and trying to face who I was. And I made every mistake in the book. So I want to say that as well first and foremost.
Can I say to what you've said before you go on to your next part?
Go on.
Just to add context to what you've said there, I've only known you in that last period of your life when you've been doing this thing. And the only reason that you are sitting here now and the reason that we've connected so well is because you're the type of person, when you say something, you're saying it because you're doing it. You're not saying it because you've heard it or read it. That's the underlying kind of border behind everything from my perspective that you do, is that when you say something to me, it's lived experience that you're working through right now. Because there's a lot of people that you would talk to, or there's a lot of people I could bring on the podcast and to give us all the one-liners and the quotes and the wonderful concepts and the psychological and the physiological, and then they're doing none of it. It's all bullshit. It's all lip service. But everything that's coming out of your mouth, I know you're actually working through it or on it at the moment. That's why I think it lends a lot of weight to what you're saying right now, because I'm consciously aware of mediums like this where we can go on and say whatever the fuck we want, and I can read 10 really cool quotes, and if I can come on and communicate that in a really slick way, people are going to go, fuck, Dan's got it all together. Shit, we should listen to this guy. He's the next guy. He's the next guy. And it could all be bullshit. And sometimes I catch myself, some of it is bullshit sometimes when I listen back. I'm like, fuck, I said that thing and I believe it, but I don't really do it. What you say, it carries a lot of weight, and why I really respect it and love talking to you about it is because I can see you doing it. I can see you living it. I can see you struggling with a lot of it, but like actioning it. And usually, and the last 3 months with you particularly is a great example of this. When you say you're going to do something, you just fucking do it. You go and do it. There's not a lot of hang around and think about this for a while, or we'll talk about it, we'll see what other people think. You just go and do it. So context to your context.
Yeah.
There's a lot of weight behind what you say.
Well, I suppose like my wife's going to listen to this and she'll call
Call
me out
bullshit
on
on
all
all of it.
yeah.
Mel's coming on next, actually,
Yeah,
sweating around the corner.
on any of the stuff that I say here, so I'm very conscious of that too.
Yeah.
So for the point and the quote there, the quote I actually took from my mother, who probably took it from somebody else. So it's not mine to say that. But I do just say it all the time because I believe it and I sit into it. And that is like, the best thing that you can do as a father for your child is to love their mother. And the reason why that is because, like, if I look at Kuan, he almost lives in a vacuum of me and my wife and him and Sula, my dog, right? 90% of his life is spent around these people. So as the same-sex parent for him as well, I am a frame for a man, or a mirror for a man of what he feels a man is. So if he feels like a man is somebody who like would put hands on a woman or mistreat somebody or shouts all the time and has to get his point across by shouting and losing his temper, that's what he's going to think. That's what a man does. Oh, he loses his temper. He gets it like this. There's that violence is a part of life, and all these type of things. So I'm very conscious of that with him. It's like, but it's a very easy thing for me in certain ways because like and I talked about this with Pat, like my love language is affection. I'm a super affectionate person. Like I might hug you 7 or 8 times in every meeting that we have. And I show that to my wife all the time, right? So like, Mel isn't the most naturally affectionate person. If I didn't hug her, we might not hug in a whole day, right? Which would be a lot for me. Like it would take me a lot to not do that, right? But so I'm showing him that affection and that kind of tenderness and intimacy that you have with people is a valuable thing and is something that men do and men can do, right? Mel's love language is acts of service, so like cleaning things or washing up my clothes and folding them in the thing. That's how she shows that she loves me, right? And I then have realized that, which allowed me to kind of go, right, well, if I start to be more conscious of things, like taking my shoes off instead of just traipse and dirt all through the house, hanging my stuff up so you don't have to be picking it up off the floor all the time, putting the wash on when I see that there's, clothes inside in the basket, I free up time for her to have more mental space for affection and mental space for her to reciprocate my love language, right? So this whole thing of like, the best thing that you can do for your child is to love their mother is a kind of it's almost like a mission statement. It's like, this is the standard I want to set for myself through the eyes of my child. So like, I want him to feel that Dad's a loving guy. Dad kisses Mom all the time. Dad looks after Mom. Dad looks after me. Dad looks after Sula. I try and involve him with things that I'm doing with Sula. It's like if I'm brushing her or I'm feeding her or whatever. We're going to feed Sula now. We're going to feed her. And showing compassion for this living thing and showing him how to treat her. Because, babies are like, bad at everything and they go at stuff. Trying to teach her gentle, trying to gently rub them. This is how we treat animals. This is we care for them and these kind of things. So it's a whole thing. I love my wife and I love my wife and show affection to my wife for no other reason than I love her, but also because I want him to know that these are things that we should do. You know what I mean? If we're with somebody. And like Kuan won't understand that, when you're in a committed marriage to somebody that you will have difficult times. And when you will have times when let's say communication just hasn't been, there for a couple of weeks, few things have kind of slipped where somebody gets frustrated or somebody is not heard or whatever the case may be. And just like also sitting into that, like knowing that like if we look at any aspect of our life that's worthwhile, is it all good? I know running isn't all good for me. I spent fucking loads of time injured and feeling like shit. And even when I'm running, I'm like, it's just not clicking. I'm like, I'm out here running. I've been out here for an hour and a half and I'm waiting for this to start fucking clicking and it's not. Sometimes, people say, oh, it's always good when you get back home after run. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's fucking shit, and sometimes you're like, oh yeah, this is actually gammy. I'm just gonna get my fucking running clothes off and hop in the shower, and do that stand in the shower under the water for 5 minutes and just go,
Hand on the
yeah,
as the camera slowly pans behind.
yeah, just contemplate everything.
Yeah.
So everything worthwhile has difficult parts in it. So like including your relationship and including parenthood and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like that's another thing, is like just trying to lean into the acceptance of that.
Yeah. Which is an area which is particularly squirrely for a lot of people when it comes to romance, because it should just be easy if you loved me.
You only see the good shit online, man. You do not see the bad shit online.
Which is a problem.
You won't. And I don't think you should see people's private lives of like, we had this huge argument today.
No.
You know what I mean? But I do think that and I feel for the younger generation coming up trying to find somebody, because they are growing up with this, not only the grass is greener, but that there are so many other fucking people out there, man. And you could fucking go for this person or that person or the other person. And it's just this quick. It's the fucking Just Eat and fucking
the Deliveroo.
The Tinder, the Deliveroo, this quick fucking boom, fix everything. You know, Revolut, money straight to your fucking account, bang, bang, bang. And that gets filtered down into a relationship, you know. So I don't know. I feel for them too, like, you know.
I definitely feel for them. I feel for us as people, human beings, because it's obviously more prevalent in the younger generation, but like it is a human condition. And the we touched on earlier on, unless you have a system for developing a sense of resilience and an understanding based on your experience that if I go through this hard thing, my life will be better. It'll be a more quality life. If you don't have that, the natural urge is to resist everything that's painful or difficult. And because you've so much choice, that at the outset is way easier, and that you can jump to the next easy thing and the next easy thing and the next easy thing. You never actually have to experience that difficulty, but then you never experience the depth of what it could be. So you could have a million hookups and never experience what it's like to have a meaningful connection with a human being. You can eat a million McDonald's burgers and never experience the glory of a 32-aged, slow-cooked fucking ribeye steak. If you're not willing to have, willing is maybe a hard word, because as we said there, I do have compassion for these people. If you have not had the experience of going through a challenging thing to realize how much better it makes the thing, then it's very, very difficult. And the love one is particularly difficult because there is this conception out there that if this is difficult, there's something wrong with it. Where in actual fact, if this is difficult, it's just normal, because everything is difficult and everything can have its periods of time where they're really, really good. But if you work on it, it will be better. It's not even you have to work on it to make it work. If you work on it, it'll just be better.
Man, like when I was going through my 20s, like first sign of difficulty, like I was Audi 5000. I was hitting the ejectocito because I was like Jump Fast and Furious 2, ejectocito because I was gone. And these are all parts of me as well that I had to kind of reconcile and get to terms with as well, of all the people that all the parts of me that I didn't like and the parts of me that I found really difficult to sit with, and the parts of me that are so far and away from what I am now. You know, because they're still part of me, like, you know, there are still always that part of you that wants to take the easy way out in anything, whether that's like, you know, running, work, family, everything, you know. There's a part of you just kind of goes, you know what, I'd actually love now if I could just had this an excuse like to leave the house or something like that or whatever and head off and do this. And I'm sure there's probably lots of men that struggle with that struggle with like, why do I want to leave the house? You want to leave the house because you want to alleviate something that's, you know, you're being confronted with, and it's difficult, you know. And
if we can add the extra element to that as human beings, for the vast majority of the time we've existed, we were always looking for the easy option, because we weren't going to.
Because life was hard enough.
Life was fucking hard. I'm not going to, paths filled with tigers and wild animals, or a 1 mile walk to get the berries over here. Get the fucking berries, because that's the quickest route to fruit. Yeah.
No, there was one guy with a podcast. He used to go for the tigers all the time, just so he could talk about it. And he was on talking about, there was this road I went for the fucking go for the tigers, man. Go for the road with the tigers.
And all the other cavemen were like, what are you fucking on about? Fucking this easier. Yeah. So
that's what he used to say before he got eaten by a tiger.
Fucking right. So there is like an inbuilt reason for that, and the problem we have now is it's everything is so accessible. Our environment has changed, and we haven't necessarily. So I have a lot of sympathy and empathy for that dilemma. It's natural to like go, why would I go towards the pain? And it's only through experiencing the pain and realizing that it's not going to kill you that you learn this. But most people don't have that option.
I talked about this only a couple of weeks ago about experience, right? Experience is not just like, you know, going training or whatever the case would be and everything going really well. And like, oh yeah, I'm gaining experience. Everything's going so good here. This is brilliant. It's not. The time when you're just about to gain the experience or the skills you need to hit the next level is when you are flat on your fucking face. And when you feel like, oh my God, I'm injured again, or this person I got looked over for this promotion and this person got it. That's just about the time. If you can push through that and keep pushing through those times, those tough times when it's like the tiger fucking in the way of the path, if you can actually go through that each time, that's when you get the skills to get to the next point and the next point and the next point. And I felt like Project 32, right, where I did the 32 marathons, I set to do that first in 2020. I don't think I'd have done it. I don't think I'd have gotten there. I think I needed all the setbacks and I needed the shit and I needed the fucking to be dragged through the mud a bit and feel like I was not getting anywhere and feel like it was useless and futile and thinking about giving up running and all this stuff. I needed all of that to get me to the point where I was able to do it.
Do you think that is a requirement for humans in general? I asked this question to so many people. Is there a way for us to learn these lessons from people who have gone before us without experiencing that ourselves? Can I learn that lesson from you, Conor O'Keeffe? Because I haven't done Project 32.
Yeah.
And I've gone through my own tough shit, but like, is there a way, do we have to hit those points of friction and pain to evolve and grow?
I think you can definitely, I suppose where I think it actually really starts to be seen is in our kids, right? We can teach them this stuff because they don't even know they're learning it. Like today when my son was in the park, right? Our park has all sand inside it, right? It's a ghetto park. It's not like one of those fancy spongy ones you soft Dublin boys have. This is a hood.
Do you know where you're recording right now?
Huh?
Do you know where you are right now?
Charlemagne Square.
Charlemagne Square, yeah. The centre of Dublin. So be careful what you say.
Be careful. People diving through. So I was there, and there's a part of it where like I would usually help him down. There's kind of a little step. It's a couple of inches now before anyone thinks that I'm abusing my son. It's a couple of inches, and where I'm like, I'll just see if he can do it himself today instead of me helping him down. And he did it the first time and failed and face planted, right? He didn't cry. It was soft sand, and he has this kind of like polar suit that like keeps him protected from literally like the ankles up to the top of his head. So he was grand. He had sand all over his face. He proper face planted into the sand. He had sand all over his face, and he was kind of going, and there was some sand in his mouth, but he was fine. I was like, and this is such a weird thing now, right? Because you think like, maybe this guy is abusing his son. I put him back up on the part before and try and see if he goes again. I only wanted to see if he would go again, not if he would succeed. I just wanted to see if he would go again, if he would give it another shot. And he did, straight away. And he failed again and fell again. No crying, no nothing, but he fell. And I was like, right, that's all I wanted to know. I didn't do it again and again and again and again and again until he got it. I was just like, success is not what we're looking for. I just want to see, would he go again, right? Would he fucking just make another bash at something he fucking failed miserably at, right? Because that's what I want from me is, will I fucking do it again? Like I'm setting up for this new project, this big project next year. And I've been injured since the Kerryway Ultra that I finished in September. I've been fucking around with injuries and illnesses for the whole time. But I'm like, I've never changed the goal. I've never changed what I wanted to do. I just have to use the skills I have to figure out a way of doing it. That's what I have in my mind. It's like I'm getting less and less time to do it, but I don't want to change the goal. I just change the way the goal is achieved in my mind, right? So and I do that by failing a lot and making lots of mistakes and kind of going, right, we can fix this, this, and this. And all the times I've failed and or succeeded have led me to feel like I can succeed at this, you know? So yeah, I think we can pass on what we have learned to our kids in ways like I did today. I think, was just a simple example.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
My wife wasn't there.
Hence why you're allowed to
should
abuse
say.
your son.
Hence why I was able to fucking put my son through the fire. But that's what it is. It's like, I just want to know, okay, does this guy have the idea where it's like, I can do this. My dad's right there. He's going to help me out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's going to be there and pick me
Again,
up. and
he's
we'll be
comfortable
fine.
to take the risk because
Yeah.
he knows you got it
So,
back.
and that's a continuous thing for him. And it's like, I bring him outside. Like a couple of weeks ago, he was in the same playground eating the sand, right? I put the sand in his mouth, and this woman goes, I think he's eating the sand. I goes, I know he is. It's like, I know he's eating the sand. I'm going to just, he's discovering it. Like, he's pretty soon he'll realize, you know what? It's actually better if I don't put the sand in my mouth. And he did. He realized it's actually so much better if I don't have sand in my mouth. And today he sat down in the sand, didn't put the sand in his mouth. This is the thing. He has to fucking try shit out, and he has to take risks, and he has to be able to discover things. And I feel like I would not, if I had him at 27, before I had learned all this shit, I'd be like, oh no, sand, it's dirty, that's dirty, wiping his hand, wiping his mouth, doing all that kind of shit. I'm like, dude get sick, what happens? I'm going to be there for him. I'm going to be there for him. It's fine. You know what I mean? So, and he'll know that.
Yeah.
And he knows that anyway. So this is where I'm on about. I'm like, all of those things are letting me know that, like, it was really me who kind of got him really, like, to kind of like set the environment for him to start walking. Because he started walking and he was all, because he had no idea, like, what walking was or whatever it case. He just saw us doing it, So then he starts walking and he's flying it and he's in the house. Then he has one fucking huge fall. Like, big fall, like cut his eye. Like, he fell in the weirdest place. It was in the spare room of the house, the only place we hadn't baby proofed, and he hits the side of the bed and cuts his eye, right? Cuts the side of his eye. Wailing, crying. And then we were trying to get him to walk again, just didn't have that same confidence, that same vigor. I fell off a motorcycle about 4 years ago, and I got back on a bike since. I was still not.
It knocks you.
Yeah, didn't feel the pull like I used to, right? So he didn't have the confidence in it. And I noticed that he was very conscious of just things that were going on around him. So I brought him outside, and I'm like, there's so much freedom now. You're out in the open. And he started to walk again. Whereas when I put him down on his feet in the house, straight away, what do? Sit down. He'd sit down and start crawling. He didn't want to start walking. So I was like, right, I'm going to bring him outside and see if it's a spatial thing. And it was. He was like, okay, I'm actually able to walk around here. I won't hit my head off anything. It's fine. And he fell a fucking 1,000 times. But it's a kind of a thing of like, I want to try and help this man to feel capable. That's the biggest thing for me. It's like, I don't want to protect him.
Yeah.
I want people to be like, your son's eating sand. I want people to be like, I'm like, you don't understand what I'm doing for this kid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In my head, right? So, and at the other side of it, I want to sit down and let him watch mindless cartoons for 20 minutes or half an hour.
And be a child.
And be a fucking child.
Yeah.
And drink a bolly and, and I'll rub his belly and I'll rub his head and I'll coddle him. And so there's got to be both sides, because he has to know that dad is a loving figure, and I'm so loving. And as I said, my affectionate way of life comes out all the time. But he would only feel like, yeah, I can do all these things. Dad's fucking there. He's going to help me out by, like, if I'm going to do this and I'm going to try, and if I fail and if I fall over, sure, Dad's right there. He's going to just come over and pick me up, and he's going to ask me, am I all right? He's going to assess the situation. Right, okay, do we need to leave? Do we need to just continue on?
Yeah.
So that's the process, and it's such a fucking great thing, man. Such a great feeling.
Yeah. And like
parenting is great.
Oh, it's amazing, yeah.
And parenting and looking after a child completely different.
Totally different.
So you can look after a child and not parent the child, right? In my mind, and look, this is my first child, and I'm only 14 months into it, So like,
you're a rookie.
I'm an absolute rookie in this, but I'm very, very open to being wrong. I'm very open to failing. I'm very open to, figuring it out. You know what I mean? And I want Kuan to teach me as much as I teach him.
Yeah. Like all good life lessons, you can link it to a Sylvester Stallone movie.
Okay, go for it.
It's not about how many times you get knocked down. It's about how many times you get back up and keep moving
Oh,
forward.
that good Rocky quote.
I actually learned what the concept you finished on there from my mother, who for 35 years ran Montessori and childcare facilities, and she epitomized to me the difference between minding a child and helping a child learn how to become a person. Because her whole philosophy was based off this Montessori philosophy about empowering and educating and exploring and creating that environment, that walled garden that Peterson spoke about, for the child to feel safe enough to explore the world around them, not to remove all the obstacles from them, or not to keep them keep them quiet in the corner so they don't annoy you. And when I became a father, the biggest thing I learned about myself and being a parent and not a childminder was understanding that this is a person like me who has needs like me. So when they get upset, they're not doing it to piss me off, even though I'm getting pissed off. So there's two things happening. They need something and I'm reacting to a trigger inside me. So once I understood that, and it was Jill, my fiance then, who helped me develop on this, I could then remove me from the situation and go, right, this young person needs something. They're getting upset and they need something. What can I do to facilitate that need? Not just give them what they want, but what can I do to help them get what they want to get? And I find, like, within myself, you mentioned there's a soft edge, and there's also an edge where I'm like, he needs to jump off the couch a few times here. And then within our relationship, in a greater dynamic, Jill would express a lot more of the tenderness and the care and the compassion and the sympathy, which helps me temper the harder edges to me. And then I would express a little bit more of the boundaries. And I've got 2 sons now as well. I'm like, sometimes these little fuckers just, they need to know that they have the competency to do these things. So I'm not doing it to punish them.
Yes.
I'm doing it to let them know that they are capable of doing these things. And they'll push the boundaries at me, and I let them push their boundaries. But then they'll also find resistance there. I'm like, see, can you overcome this little challenge now? And see, can you learn about this little consequence that you've made for yourself? And I'll empower you to get out of it. There's decisions you can make here, but if you make the wrong one, you mightn't like the answer. And then that's tempered by Jill coming in and saying, okay, well, maybe we could add a bit of a softer edge to this. I'm like, okay, that's it. So it's constantly learning about yourself to learn about how to facilitate their place in the world, which I think is absolutely amazing. And so my mom started that process for me, the difference between childcare and parenting. And Jill has helped me with it subsequently. To kind of move into the question that stemmed from the start of the podcast here in terms of the change and the shift, we had a conversation up the mountains once about this idea of what you do is such a time sink. It's such a drain on time, the amount of hours you have to put into the training for the event that you do, because it's monstrous. It's monstrous. And the amount of hours that you are required to invest in your family, to be that parent, to give them that experience into your wife and to your son. The word selfish comes up a lot. And you gave me an absolutely fantastic answer to this at the mountains, and I'll see if you remember. If you don't, I'll prompt you. But how do you balance that equation in the books of your head, in terms of you're spending all of these hours on this thing that takes you away from your family? How does that balance out for you in terms of your role as a father and a family man?
Yeah, I suppose it comes back to the kind of idea of you can't pour from an empty cup. This kind of thing of you can't give what you don't have. So I don't think that I could give the full version of me that they require if I wasn't giving it to myself first. So it's like a sprinter in a relay race. You unless you have the baton yourself, you can't pass it to somebody else. Or it's, the plane is going down. You put your mask on first so that you then can help others, right? So I feel like this is for me, like, and then you have to make it work in real life. So how I make it work in real life is, and I've only started to shift back into this now, is I've realized that there are like some dead hours in the day, and that's in the evening time, right? I fucking, my wife as well, which I really understand, is a person who needs to shut off, right? She goes through her day and she needs some mindless shite before the end of the day, and I'm like, I'm with you. I can sit down and have a cup of tea with you, and we can spend that time together as well, just watching the show, but sometimes just chatting while we're watching the show or whatever, right? But there is that kind of dead time. So for me to be there for them on the other side of it, I kind of thought, right, that dead time can't last as long. So I can give a bit of it, so I can kind of compromise, but I kind of have to be in bed. like 9 or 9:30 really is when I kind of have to be in bed these days, because I need to be up at around 6 o'clock. Sometimes 5, sometimes 4, even earlier. It depends, but a lot of the times it's 6 o'clock, right? So nothing major, because I want to square away my training, right? And where that happens is, so in the night before, I lay out my gear. I'll make sure that it's all sorted inside in the kitchen, right? So then when I wake up in the morning, I'm going straight out of the bedroom so there's no faffing around and making noise in there, and I'm straight down to the kitchen. I get ready, and it's a really important part of the day for me. I like it, because it's my own time. I'm just there. My dog is probably circling around the table and kind of looking up for rubs and stuff, and I'm just, boiling up the kettle for a coffee or just having a bagel or something like that, and just having a bit of time in the kitchen. Get my gear on, and I'm out and I get my run done. And then when I come back, they're kind of only just up out of bed. Maybe my son has just had breakfast or whatever. But then it's like I can start kind of thinking not about myself really, which is the main thing. Is like, I'm not in the back of my head, oh, we'll spend all this time and we'll do all of this stuff. But you do know we have an hour run to do. Or you do know we have strength and conditioning later or whatever, right? So I feel like that's a huge part for me, is if I do that, it clears so much mental space for me to be a dad and a partner and to start making plans and things like that. And so there's a factor with that as well, is when you have that mental space, you're better. I'm more adaptable and more flexible as well. So if Mel kind of goes to me, he's like, oh, look, here, Con, I completely forgot. I've itineraries to send out and I have to get back to this person and I actually have a call now. I'm like, right, Grant, cool. You do that. I'll look after this man. We'll do the business. And when you're finished, then I'll start looking after my programming for my clients and doing all this kind of stuff. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I wasn't looking after the version of me that's not a dad, that's not a husband, that's not in the household, the version of me that is wanting to run ultramarathons. So if I don't look after that and I don't try and shape my life to do that, the only person that's losing is me. And then if I'm losing, everyone's losing in my life as well then, So I feel like you can't pour from an empty cup. I fill up my cup in the morning. Every fucking step that I do on the road, I'm filling up that cup, because it gives me energy and gives me mental space. And then when I get back home, I am like, doesn't fucking matter if the place is falling down, if my son is fucking screaming fit, doesn't matter. To me, I'm like, yeah, I'm fucking here. And
Yeah.
Just like, and I'm clocking in, just punch card, and I'm done there,
Yeah. Most of the people that I've met in the last 5-6 years building this community or whatever, that I really respect and admire, not because they do a specific thing really well, but because they conduct themselves across the spectrum of things they do extremely well, with loads of competence and capability and compassion, all the C's apparently. Most of them, if not all of them, say the same thing. It's because they have their self-care. And it's not self-care in terms of like sitting down with your incense candle. Maybe that is your thing, but doing the things that you need to do to make you, we've lost the light there now, but this is the joys of the whole production world. Doing the things that you need to do because they will make you the person better able to show up for the people you want to show up for. And that's if it's usually a physical, some element of physical training, some element of psychological or mental or mindset prep or consciousness or self-awareness or reflection practice. Almost every single person that I really admire and respect has an element of that in it. And then there's the outliers. There are people who are just so selfless that they still show up for everybody else. And there's a couple of people that are prominent in my mind when I think it is. They show up for absolutely everybody but themselves. And there's a certain point in their life where that becomes an issue, because you cannot pour from the empty cup. Like when you're saying that, I'm thinking of these people and I'm like, they're getting to the end of this cup now where they're just giving to everybody. And I really admire it. I admire it so much. But it's not sustainable. It can't last. And ultimately you're going to suffer, which will mean the people in your life will suffer. So I think thinking of it as a selfish thing is not, it doesn't even come into my headspace anymore. It's not a selfish thing. I personally know that if I don't take care of those things, I am not a terrible person now, but I'm a terrible version of the thing I want to be. Not a present father.
You're not able to operate at the level you want to be, yeah.
Not a present father. Not a caring or thoughtful partner. I'm not a good friend. I'm not a particularly present son. I'm none of those things, and the only difference is me taking care of myself. It's not that I'm a bad person in any of those elements in life. It's me taking care of myself, and that it's a very, very important and powerful lesson for me to learn. There was a second part to the conversation we had up the mountains, though, that you touched on as well, and you said to me that you want to teach your son to be the type of person who doesn't let life dictate the things that he does, and follows his passions and his dreams despite his circumstances. Not that having a child is a circumstance, but it's a change in circumstances.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that a little bit as well?
Yeah, I feel like, and this is like, I'm continually trying to discover what I mean by this too. You know what I mean? Because like, I want my son to feel like, yeah, okay, you can be a family man, and like, I really do see myself as a family man. You know, this is like first and foremost. You know what I mean? And you can be a family man. You can, you know, look after a household and a child and your wife and that relationship. You can earn money, work hard, and you can also look after your own self-development and your own goals. You can do that, and this is where I go, you know, oh, my life is easy, you know, at the beginning of this. It's difficult, but it's always in the kind of general view that things could be so much harder, right? So that's what I feel like. It's like, yeah, my life is challenging and I make it so it could be very easy for me to not do the things that I am trying to do. I could go, here, I'm after having a child now. I think, do you know what? Running now will have to give. It's just a bit of a skip. Or look, I'll just do it as a kind of a, you know, I'll do it 2 or 3 times a week for fitness. That wouldn't sit with me. That's just not the way that I am. Because like, look, and that's not to say, oh, I'm this fucking hard ass. What's to say is like, there's obviously some sort of a character fucking trait in me that wants to do this. There's a feedback that I'm getting from doing it that makes me feel good about life as well. You know, it makes me feel like I am who I am, and makes me feel authentic, and makes me feel authentic in the world around me. You know what I mean? So it's giving something to me as well.
Yeah.
So it's not just that I decide I want to fucking do this shit because I want to be this hard guy. It's like, it's giving me something. I understand that this is part of my mental makeup. You know, I understand that like we do these things because there's a motive behind them.
100%.
You know,
100%.
maybe, and like, I put up a clip today of the podcast with Pat Dively, and it's like, is this coming from a place of worth or a place of wounding? That's the important thing. It's not the what we do. It's the reasons why. I don't do this because I'm like, fuck it, there's fucking 40,000 people online that think that I'm this ultra running fucking madman. I better keep up this fucking appearance. I fucking love being this fucking this ultra endurance guy, and just so happen to share what I do with people.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I absolutely, and this is another thing about what I do that I find so class is 2 things. One, when I make videos or content and put it out to the people, that's like a fucking therapy session for me as well, to kind of get things out. A lot of the times I'm talking and I'm telling people, look, I always use we because I'm in the fucking process too, and I'm talking to myself, and sometimes it's a reminder to me. Sometimes it's like something like, oh yeah, that's a lot of the time. It's like something has gotten away from me, and I'm starting to feel stressed about something, and then I kind of dig into the toolbox. I dig into the reflective nature, and then I realize that there's a better way, and then that's what I share with people. Yes. I go, I know you're thinking like this. Like the other day, I made a video of like dads that want to be present fathers. They want to work hard. They want to look after their household, and they want to look after their own self-development. It is difficult. It's hard. But you do, and this is what I was thinking back. It's like, I've gained the experience that I need every month to bring me through to the next month. And then in that month, I'll have the experience to bring me through to the next month. So I always feel capable. I always feel like, yeah, I'm where I am right now, and can go over there and go next month. And through that process, I'm going to be able to learn how to get to the next month.
Yeah.
So life doesn't get easier. We just get better at living life, you know? So for me, we're trying to kind of show my son that life is, in some ways can be very, very challenging, but lean into authentically who you are. That's the place of wounding or place of worth, right? Lean into your worth. What makes you feel like you, regardless of anybody else? What makes you feel like you, and what do you really, really want to do? Like, if I was brave enough at 17 years old when I came back from climbing Kilimanjaro, and I said to my dad, Dad, I don't think I want to go to college. I think I want to like pursue something in the outdoors, and I want to get into mountaineering. I wish I had the courage to say that to my dad. My dad wouldn't have been receptive to that, because my dad's values are in authority, education, security. Those are things that he really likes about life. He's always had those things in his life. He's respected authority. He has had a want or desire for education and places value on that. And he wants security, financial security, social security. He wants all of those things, and he wants them for his sons. And that's why me and my dad and my brother clashed, because they didn't share those same values. I shared some of the maybe 60% of the values that my dad shared. But if I felt like he had given me the nod to say, "Con, you can do whatever you want, boy. Whatever you want to do, boy, I'll back you." If I had heard that at 17 from my dad, I feel like I might have, taken the fucking risk. I might have went down that step. I might have taken down the step and eaten some sand. Do you know what I'm saying? But I feel like that's what I want to learn. So you said there now, can we go? Can we make these positive changes in our lives without going through the fire? Yes, we can. And I feel like as family men and as dads, we can do that with our kids. So like, I feel like I want to show Cuan, it's like, Cuan, I'm going to give you every opportunity to do whatever you want to do. I'm going to work so that you can go to school, and so that college is a reality for you. Probably move up to Dublin, really, realistically, go to college, do all those things. If that's what you want to do, boy. If you want to become a dentist, if you want to become an accountant, something that I would fucking hate being, that's all fucking good with me, man. But if you want to fucking do completely the opposite thing, and you want to go off and you want to become a fucking backpacker and backpack around the fucking world, I'll do what I can to help you, boy. And what I mean, do what I can to help you, is like, I'll try and set up a place where you can earn the money to do that, and where you can, and then I'll help you out as well. Like, because I've gotten, this is one thing as well that I didn't understand about myself, and I'm still trying to figure it out. It's like, I never wanted to, and my parents have been really wonderful since Cuan came around. They have helped me financially, right? First time in my life that I've gotten financial help from my parents, and it's the first time where I've been in the emotional place to accept it. In the kind of like before the summer kind of type of time. And because I was struggling financially to figure out how to earn money, right, basically, and I could have earned the money in the 9-to-5 way, but it's just in the way that I wanted to, and spoke to my authentic self. And all throughout my life, I was like, as soon as I could, I was working. And I was like, I'm making my own way, and I'm paving I don't know where that came from on my own mind. Maybe it was because my mother was always like that too. She was like, I wanted better. She'd grown up in a rough area, and she wanted to kind of get us out of there. And she did, and so did my dad, and I feel like I got some of that from them. But it's like, I feel like what I've learned from that now, from let's say, that I want to pass on to Cuan, it's like, Cuan, like, what I want from him is like, you have the capability to do whatever you want, but I will help you in the right ways. You know what I mean? To help him do that. But like, and it's not to say that my dad isn't a supportive person. He didn't know any better at the time. He knew, oh, my son is, he's studying in school and he's doing well, and he's going to get a law degree and all this kind of stuff. And he loved all that shit, And I did it all for him. I never wanted to be in college. I never wanted to do things. And not only did I do that for him, but like, from the very time I was in school, like the first week, it's freshers week, like everyone's just drinking. I don't give a shit about class. I was in the library all the time. And I think it was just from the very beginning, it was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get it. Even I dropped out in my last year. I was going through a really bad mental health difficulties, very, very bad, like point of taking my own life, really, really, really struggling, and not wanting to live anymore. And I just had this kind of magic, kind of a fucking lightning bolt hit me one day sitting on the couch. And one of the things was like, I just couldn't let my dad down, I couldn't let my dad down. I couldn't fucking do it. I couldn't follow through. So I put 14-hour days in for like 2 months to make up. I dropped out for 3 months to make up that time and to kind of get myself ready for my final exams. I was just like going to bed to just basically wake up again, and just constant cycle of doing this. So I always had this element as well in me of like, I can do these things if I put my mind to them. Like, you know what I mean? I just wanted to wait for it to get out, in where that was coming from, that place of wounding, as we were talking about there. All those things are coming from a place of wounding. Even all the times I was training in Thai boxing, training so hard that I would vomit, that was all coming from a place of wounding. When I train now, it's coming from a place of worth, and I want to show that to my son as well, you know?
Yeah. There's a big lesson here, I feel, for us as parents, and anybody listening here, if you're planning on having children, if you do have children, even if it's just for other people in your life, that we can learn from our parents. Because if your dad and my dad and all of our parents knew that they would do what we are talking about now we want to do for our children. And the lesson I'm taking here is that, yes, we have a view on what would be a good life for our children or for the people around us. However, our duty is just to create the environment where they can figure it out for themselves. And it keeps coming back to earlier on, just creating that environment where they can decide and we can support whatever it is. And obviously there'll be mental things they want to do, and we can allow them to experience those things within the bound with a safety net that they mightn't even know is there. But we shouldn't allow our own set of experiences dictate how we funnel our children and funnel those people.
It's like Big Daddy, you know the movie Big Daddy? And he's
I can write my own ass.
Yeah. He lets your man become
Frankenstein.
the smelly kid.
Exactly.
Right? And he lets all those things happen to him. It's like you're letting the child like live a free life, but to a point, the child needs your experience.
Yes.
You know, and needs your ability to kind of go, no, you know, this is where we have to go. So and this is something that I had to come to terms with as well, because I have a lot of anxiety and trauma around school. And I don't want to project that onto my son.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, I'm trying to think about those kind of processes too. So you can let the child make their own choices, but as you said, it's always in the safety net of, I'm going to come in here like we're a tag team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. And also, like, this is a very cliched concept, but like, there are many, many ways to live this life. And by you, this is what touched me the most when we were talking about this with the mountains, by you deciding against, and believe me, I know what this feels like, extreme pressure. Financial pressure clouds the mind and clouds your judgment. The pressure of responsibility as a man to provide, protect, to care, not for yourself, but for these other people in your life. It's crippling. It's absolutely crippling, emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally, whatever. And for you to still decide to take the path less well traveled, it's immensely brave. And it shows that it's possible. And that's what I took from it as well. It's inspiring for obviously people who are around you because you're doing this, and anybody who decides to take that path, that road with all the branches and the lines and to volunteer for that when there's a cushy 9 to 5. You know how to sell cars, man. You go back in, you get yourself a nice job, you get a company car, and you're sorted. And you can live that cushy life for the rest of your life.
I could be mortgageable in 12 months.
12 months.
You know?
And you could be back, because I know that comparison syndrome is there as well. Like, all my mates are doing this thing and but you're living that life that's true to who you are. And that's why I say that sounds a bit watery, but fuck me, man, when you see it and when you feel it, and I've experienced that from you, I'm doing it myself as well. So I have a lot of admiration for myself sometimes. I'm like, you're doing this fucking thing because you want to show the people around you that it's possible to pick something, to have a vision that aligns with who you want to be and to go for it, despite the fact that it can be extremely difficult.
I'd have been alive, but I wouldn't have been living.
Yeah.
You know,
100%.
That's where I feel like I want to, you know, be at all times. I want to be living my life, where I don't want to just be existing, alive. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, yeah. There was another topic I wanted to talk to you about. However, I didn't think we were going to go this deep into this conversation. So I have a beautiful idea for that second topic that I'm going to talk to you about after this podcast. So I'm going to park that second topic.
Yes.
And I'm going to bring this one home by asking you, after everything you've said to me there and how transformative the last kind of 3 or 4 years have been, this year in particular has been a monstrous year for you, just in terms of mindset and change. And I've watched it. I've been privileged to be a part of it, to constantly be touching off the things that you're doing and witnessing this. In the spirit of this being, because it's going to go out on Stephen's Day, it's the end of the year, people are in this mode where some people don't like this time of year. It's a time of self-reflection. It's a type of sometimes deep conversations that people find uncomfortable. I just spoke about this with Brian. what are some of the lessons that you've learned? A man who is constantly learning lessons in life and changing how you live your life. What are some of the lessons you've learned from this year that you'd like to carry forward? And that you might think that's, because a lot of time people would listen to someone like yourself and think that it's unachievable. I could never do this. I can't go through Hell Week and learn these really hard lessons about my life and then quit my job and become. What would you like to say to people like that? What lessons have you learned that people could maybe carry forward?
Can I say an anecdotal piece first?
You can
right?
do a limerick if you'd like. You can tell a poem.
I found really interesting, right? I went to see this movement specialist about 2 weeks ago. And he took loads of measurements of me in terms of like the way I walk, the way I run. We took videos. He took me like pictures of me front facing, back facing, side facing. And we basically just like went fucking deep dive into my body, right? And he said to me, for anyone who thinks that I have any physical abilities or physical makeup that makes me better than people or makes me like to do the things that I want, he goes, I cannot believe that you've been able to do what you've been able to do with your body like this. That's what he said to me. Right?
Thanks,
he said, you have so many imbalances and you have so many things going on that basically should make you like the most breakable person ever, that you should just like get injured, like even looking at running. Right? And he's like, you must have a mindset that lets you to fucking do this because it's not a physical talent that you have. And I actually took that as one of the biggest compliments that I've ever gotten in my life. And that's where he's like, we're going to bring the physical in now to the point where like you're actually physically prepared to do this, right? Which got me fucking super excited.
It's a scary thought,
right?
It
got me super excited. I was like, this is fucking class. I'm not saying I'm going to be fucking world beater. I'm just like, can I be 1% better than what I am now? You know? So for anybody that is looking, I should not be able to be probably doing the stuff that I'm doing. Like if you were to line up, and this is what I say all the time, right? If you look at the fucking studs that were on Hell Week with me, I mean proper fucking studs. Like if you lined all of us up. Shout out to Jay.
Big Jason Kane.
Shout out to all those boys. And ladies.
And ladies,
right?
yeah.
And ladies. But like you look at the fucking success the ladies had, like it's fucking amazing. But if we were to line everybody up, and not say anything about anyone's past, nobody, who would you say would finish? I'd say I'd probably be one of the first ones out as someone who's going to get kicked off straight away. Because you just look at me and you're going to go, this guy's just not going to be with it, right? And you look at all those lads, and I'm not saying that these lads are weak or in any way, shape or form, physically, mentally, emotionally, anything like that. All I'm saying is that it's actually what happens in between our two ears. That's one of the most important things if we want to do fucking anything, whether that's working, whether that's being a family man, whether that's like looking after aspirations and goals within ourselves. It's how do you speak to yourself? How do you talk to yourself? I talked to myself so badly for years, so badly. I would never I would punch people straight into the fucking head if they ever spoke to me the way I spoke to myself. I was so horrible to myself. Like, I look back at times and I'm like, how the fuck was I able to, how did I let myself get away with treating myself like that, right? And so when I made the switch and I was like, I'm going to fucking, all this negative energy, we are going to fucking pour into the positive energy. And we're just going to literally flip that battery around and we're just going to be able to live that. So all I can say is for people is I'm going to reiterate a point because I don't know. Sometimes you just throw around so many points in a podcast. Some of them get lost in the mist. The one that I want to say is that just when you're about to quit, just when you're about to think, this is absolutely futile, this is useless, I haven't gotten anywhere, I'm marching in place here, I haven't moved forward one bit. Just when you're at that time, that's exactly the time when you're going to move forward. If you can hang in there just at that time and give yourself that little bit of time, you're literally just about to gain the experience to get to the next level. And that's all I can say. I've thought about quitting hundreds of times. I've thought about taking the easy way out hundreds of times in so many areas of my life. And it's just when I feel like I want to fucking tag out, I want to hop out of the ring, I don't want to fight anymore, is when I get that fucking breakthrough, And That's what we are missing in life is things don't work out. Go do this thing instead. Do this thing instead. No, the thing you set yourself to do, the reason why you set yourself to do it is because you wanted it more than anything. There was that time, it was like 8 o'clock at night. You were just after finishing up your day and you were in the top I can do this shit mood. And you said, I want to fucking do this. This is what I want to fucking do. And you start and you realize this is way harder than I thought it was going to be. And you come up against your fucking first like speed bump, your first wall, and it looks like it's not going to happen, and you quit. Then you've just when you were about to get to the next place, you stopped. Just when you were about to bridge that gap, just when you were about to, gain the experience to bring you to the next place, you stopped. And that's what I am fucking terrified of. I am terrified that I will stop just at the time when I was meant to be. I'm going to stop playing the lotto just before my fucking numbers are called. Do you get what I'm saying? And that's what keeps me going in all aspects of life. I'm like, just when I figure just when I'm about to figure something out, I quit. I could have fucking been there. I could have done that, but I didn't do it. That terrifies the fucking shit out of me. The thought of failing and like failing publicly, like telling everybody that follows me on Instagram, I'm going to do this thing, and then failing at it I never think about that. Doesn't even register because I'm the one doing it, and I'm giving it a fucking shot. So I don't care about what anybody else thinks. I would fucking hate if I was leaving something on the table that could have been mine. Whether that's a better relationship with my son, a better relationship with my wife, a better relationship with myself, a better relationship with running, a better understanding of myself. If I'm leaving these fucking things on the table, that's what fucking kills me. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm like, hang in there, hang in there, because you could be just on the cusp of making it. So don't quit. Don't fucking quit, because you're literally just about to make the fucking breakthrough.
I don't even want to say it because I feel like I don't want to water down that beautiful sentiment there. I think it's really, really powerful. I think it epitomizes everything that I've known you to be over the last 3 years now.
And you've been a big catalyst for that too, dude. Like, as in, honestly, when I started the podcast, this is another thing I'm starting to tap into now as well, is when we are like in our 30s, usually we focus on one of two areas, right? We focus on career or family or both, right? So let's say we're a dad and we want to have our career. We're focusing our energy on two of those things, right? But then we start to fucking get sucked down these tunnels of that, and we forget about our social circle, other men, right? And other women as well. But I think other men is like, there's that connection there where, like, if we have our male friends, what happens if work starts going to shit? You can't tell your family are dependent on you. What if things starts going to fucking shit with your family? You can't go into work and bring your fucking family problems into work. Where are you going? You're going to go to the friends you've completely forgot about. So that's why I'm really, really am incredibly grateful that I have a friend like you, and a friend that I can come to at any time, and he feels he can come to me at any time. So I feel like that's something that if you're looking right now and you're like, do you know what, I completely forgot about my friends. There's going to be a time that you need them. Come to them before you need them. Come to them before you need them. Come to them when you want them, not when you need them. And then you'll have them when you need them.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the reason I started this whole thing, I shared this with you before, is for this. It's to create moments like this. I mean, like, everyone here is our friend. Like, Victor's here behind the camera, James is over here, Brian was just here. These are all my friends. And these are the people that I get, that, like, I'm here now on a Friday evening with you guys who've come to help me with this and to be a part of this.
I never once thought about it as helping you. I just thought about it as being part of something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Being part of a fucking crew.
When I thought about, like, what do I want this business to be, is the worst. Don't ever take business advice from me. It's the worst business plan in the world. It's like, if I put this thing together, I'll get to meet all the types of people I want to surround myself with.
You did the Kevin Costner. Build it and they will come.
Build it and they will come. That was the idea. And it's now, we've built friendships like this, and we can have conversations like this. My family has benefited from me knowing you. You say similar things to me. It's the same with all the people in this room. And I have had a really strange experience over the last kind of 4 or 5 months where a lot of the people I meet who are from the outside extremely together and successful and public and figureheads have, and it's only now because I know what it is, have demonstrated all the traits of people who don't have that sense of connection. There's a lot of lonely people out there. So I feel extremely privileged to have been able to create a space that connects people like this, and for me to be able to have the access to conversations and support. And again, I mentioned one of my takeaways from 2023 was this idea of having a support system for yourself. And some of that I was born into. I have an amazing family, so circumstance has been really kind to me. I've been very lucky.
Yeah, me too.
And on the other side, I've been active in trying to seek out people who inspire me. Hence why you're sitting here still 3 years later after the first conversation. And people who teach me, and people who can empower me, and people who can let me help them. Because again, there's a selfish element to that, but also the whole rising tide thing. Like that's so important to me. And one of my big takeaway lessons. But I'd like to thank you as well for being a part of it, because it takes two to tango, as they say. And like we've gone through some difficult times together individually. We've supported each other, and it's been amazing. And it's hopefully there's been some value in the conversations that we bring to people. Then
you've inspired me in the best way, right? People like, because I get a lot of people that are reaching out to me as runners, and they're like, oh yeah, I want to run 100 miles now and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, that's fantastic, but like honestly, Dan, you've inspired me as a man. You know, it's like, this is like, how do you take a chance on yourself, back yourself, struggle, and also be there for your family, and to be the man you want to be behind closed doors and when nobody's watching. So like, you've inspired me, man, you know, so many ways. Like fucking, you can't explain it. You know, when you're talking to someone, just the impact that they've had on your life. And this is the thing, is like, I think I'm very difficult to inspire, because I'm very, I have a kind of an inner feedback loop, right? Yeah. So I don't really need, let's say, an external source of it. But you've given me such points of reflection and insight, and such fucking, just even your altruistic nature with me, of like helping me with the podcast and all that kind of stuff when I was even financially not able to do that, has allowed me to show altruism to so many people. I've had the mental space to kind of go, there was a guy who reached out to me yesterday, and he was like, he sent me a message, and this was the kind of tone, right, of the typed out message was kind of like, oh, hi Conor, I don't want to be disturbing, you know, I know you're very busy, I've watched the page for ages, but I was just wondering if you could tell me what was in your run juice on this podcast. And I said, I'll do you one better. I'll send you a full endurance guidebook on this whole thing, and it'll break down everything for you. And I sent them loads of voice notes, kind of going through how I would start to implement some of these nutrition practices and all this kind of stuff, and took the time to do it, and emailed him over the stuff and told him all about these different resources. And he was like, I don't know. He said he's not in the kind of position to be a coach and all that kind of stuff. And I sent him some links to like free running programs and stuff like that I've used in the past and stuff. And I was like, I never would have like given that much time. I'd have just kind of goes, oh, it's this is how you make the run juice, and it would have been grand. But now I'm kind of like, this is a person now who's reaching out, and it's like nobody kind of, obviously I'm just using this as a point in the podcast, but nobody knows about this. But I'm doing it because I know what it feels like to get that helping hand. Do you know what I mean? So and I thank you for that, man.
And that's come to me in spades. So it's just sharing the love and it's passing it on. At the risk of this becoming a big love in between Dan and Con, everyone's turning off now. Fuck these guys, could they rub each other anymore?
Get a fucking room.
Get a room. Yeah. What was the phrase you used to use?
What's that?
I'm gonna go. I used to say something very funny all the time. At the end, randomly at the end of voice notes to me, you used to just throw it in.
Oh yeah. I was like, yeah, here, Dan, maybe we should like go and grab a coffee and maybe touch each other's dicks.
That's what this is becoming right now. So at the risk of it becoming a dick touching exercise, I'm going to give you 90 seconds now. The quick sell, although that's quite a long sell here. What's coming? You're now coaching. You're working with people. You're working with clients. What's coming, and how can people get involved with the great Conor O'Keeffe?
Yeah, so I'm coaching people on mindset basis. You could call it life coaching, right? We're just put it under the umbrella term of helping people with this kind of with making mindset shifts around certain areas of their life, figuring out where their energy is going, where their energy could go in terms of where they want to be and who they want to be. And then there's on the other side as well, I'm helping people with ultra endurance. So I wanted to specialize in ultra endurance, even though it's a far more niche than just your everyday kind of runner, 5 or 10K runners. The reason why I wanted to is because I feel like that's where my experience best is communicated to another person. I feel like I've got higher value to give this person. So I'm helping ultra runners run ultra marathons, and all of it is through my Instagram page. Really is the kind of HQ at C O'Keeffe,
which is popping off.
Yeah. So basically, everything is there. I have the Flip the Script podcast as well that I record in your studio. I've recorded it in your studio for the last 2 years, and yeah, that's basically me. The big project next year is to try and run the length of Ireland in record time. The record sits at 3 days, 1 hour and 55 minutes. I'd love to do it in under 3 days. I feel like I don't want to be overconfident. I've let overconfidence bite me in the ass from times, but I have a belief. I have a flicker of a belief that if I am able to continue to grow and learn and do the things that I want to do over the next 6 months, that I'll be able to do it and I'll be able to bring it home. So that's what it's all about, is just staying in the process, working hard every day and making it happen, basically.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Thank you so much for your friendship. Thank you so much for your love. Thank you for your time today. And I'm going to break the fourth wall on this one. Hit me with this one, Victor. We're going to break the fourth wall.
What's happening?
I'm going to just say the next podcast that we're going to do is going to be unbelievable. So watch this space. The next time you see me and this man together, well, probably not the next time on a mic because we're going to do lots of that, but for this next conversation, it's going to be unreal. So watch this space. Thank you so much, my friend.
Peace out, baby.
Boom.